we've gone down an avenue where we feel engagement in an organization is giving everyone what they want. It's about the individual, but the opposite is actually true. Engagement is doing difficult things together. You need that awareness to make decisions. Technology world, where we're overwhelmed by information, you don't create this time and space to think and create awareness. You just constantly react. There's thousands of fighter pilots that took off and never landed.
Welcome back to the Leadership Puzzle, where we explore the pieces that make great leaders and how they all fit together. Today, we are taking leadership to new heights, literally. My guest is Christian Boucousis. He is a former fighter pilot and CEO of Afterburner, and author of the Amazon bestseller, The Afterburner Advantage. You know, for nearly 30 years, Boo and the Afterburner team has been helping more than 3,500 organizations and close to 2 million leaders perform under pressure. From Fortune 500 boardrooms to the NFL locker room. In this episode, we're going to unpack how to turn chaos into clarity using Boo's flawless leadership model. It's a mindset built for speed, alignment, and adaptability. We'll talk about how fighter pilots lead with precision, how businesses can operate with the same discipline, and how leaders can build focus without burning out. So buckle up. Today, we're learning how to lead at Mach speed. All right, Boo, well, welcome to the Leadership Puzzle. I am so excited to talk to you today.
Thanks, Jeff. I'm pumped. I mean, you've pretty much defined the leadership conundrum in the title of the podcast. You clearly know what you're talking about.
Well, you know, I think we've both been at this a long time in our different spheres. But you know, Boo, I'd love for you to take us back to kind of the beginning. I mean, so you're a fighter pilot in the Royal Air Force, Royal Australian Air Force.
Well, both actually. I was a fighter pilot at the Royal Air Force as well.
Oh, okay, there you go. So double benefit there. Now, what was one of those first leadership lessons that you learned in a cockpit that you think is applicable to today's leaders?
The number one, I guess, perspective you learn in Australia, we call it it's the captain's decision. And when we talk about captain in the United States, they call it the pilot in command. But the fundamental leadership lesson is that everything starts and ends with you. Like if you're not at the top of your game, if you haven't mastered your own self-awareness and your ability to show up as the best version of yourself, everything in leadership becomes a lot more difficult. And I think what's unique about fighter pilots, and more specifically the single seat fighter pilot world where there's no navigator or wizzo in the back, is really you're it. I mean, no one's checking the instruments with you. No one's giving you more awareness than you're gaining for yourself. And you don't realize it when you're in the organization, right? At no point are you ever thinking any of the stuff I'm about to tell you. It all comes in hindsight and reflection. Yeah. But without a doubt, the fact that it all comes back to you and that you need to build a robust self-critiquing model, cognitive model, in order to thrive in those environments. And on the opposite end of that spectrum is also survive.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I want to get to a topic that's really interesting and fascinating to me. You know, you talk about flawless leadership. I think you mentioned that you're writing your next book on this topic. It's a pretty bold phrase. Tell us what your flawless leadership model is and how it differs from traditional models.
You know, it's so funny, you know, how much pushback we get around that word. And when you talk about mindset and people say that to me, I'm like, well, you've already set yourself up with a mindset to not be great. Like
Yeah.
Flawless is about a journey to perfection, not getting there. And to paraphrase Vince Lombardi, you know, which is we're never going to be perfect, but it's through the pursuit of perfection we catch excellence. And you know, I remember I was at this I do quite a bit of keynote speaking, and so I went to a workshop as part of my development, and you get up there and you get in front of other speakers and you run through your topic, and I remember being lambasted, right? because fighter pilots have this 99% mission success rate, and no one believed me. And they're like, oh, this is ridiculous. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I go into everything I do in life to try and get 99%. Do I get there? No. But if I go in there with 50, I'll probably get 20. If I go in with 99, I might hit 70. So it's this commitment to a journey where I invest as much as I can in myself and my team. And we really focus on the controllables. We step away from excuse making. We don't try and influence things we can't influence. And that's what flawless means. Flawless means I'm going to try and get as close to perfect as I can. I'm not going to get there, but I'm going to commit to all of the key characteristics and attributes of a leader. And then you go into an organization and they're like 100% growth, zero losses. And you're like, well, that's perfection and that's unachievable.
Yeah.
So humans kind of, I think when it comes to, we've gone through an era of, I was talking to one of the biggest companies in the world, and I was talking about flawless leadership, and they're like, well, I don't know whether we want to be flawless because we want our leaders to make mistakes. And I'm like, well, I don't think you actually do want that. I think what you're trying to say is you'll accept that, and absolutely right. But when you start saying to people, we want you to make mistakes, what happens in their mindset? They go out and deliberately make mistakes. And then they accept that it's okay. Whereas with a fighter pilot, it's like, well, I want to get close to perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to learn from them and not going to make the same mistake twice. So mindset's really important because we talk about the fighter pilot mindset, which is intention, grounded in reality. And by embracing curiosity, we start to take the actions that move us from where we are to where we need to be, or in a personal context, who I am to who I want to be. And I think a lot of people aren't even aware of the concept of neuroplasticity or neural pathways, and the fact that the brain is just a computer that can be reprogrammed. But just like an operating system on an iPhone, it's not going to be upgraded unless someone's intentionally upgrading it. So again, one of the gifts of being a fighter pilot is there's an expectation that the team will participate and your peer group will help you grow, but really the growth is on you. Like you have to commit to growth as a pilot. And then as you move into the leadership structures, you have to commit to absorbing as much as you need to know about leading at the different levels. So you're a mission commander lead, then you're a squadron commander lead, then you're a wing commander lead. You have all these different kind of problem sets.
Yeah.
But fundamental to each of them is you've got to grow as a leader and learn your role in that leadership position and the skill sets and the mindsets to be able to be effective in that role and get the most out of your people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you hear flawless, you're right. It's like it feels like perfection, but I love how you kind of couch it and say, no, we're going to try and do this activity, whatever we're trying to, our results. We're going to get as close to the goal as we possibly can. Yeah. Sometimes we may hit it dead center. Others might be a little bit off. We're going to learn from it, and we're going to do better next time. So I like that, and I'm with you. We can't be perfect. We don't really want people to fail, but people will fail from time to time. We want them to fail quickly, and we want them to learn and grow from it.
Yeah, it's you don't have to look very hard to see that the statistics on business execution and delivering on strategy and results, they're overwhelmingly negative. I mean, it's hard to pin a number, 62%, but anywhere from 30 to 80% is a big spectrum for the number of companies that fail to deliver on their annual strategy.
Oh yeah.
So it's and I get you see it in your children, like that your kids go into something already thinking they're not going to be good at it, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, you're just not good at it yet. You're just not there yet. And if you start to think of the context of where I am now, and I'm moving myself towards it, then you'll get there. I mean, if you look at if you read Kobe Bryant's work, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, that's their mindset. Which is they know they're not going to win every game, but they don't go into every game thinking this might be the one we don't win.
Yeah. Yeah. They have the mindset that they're going to win. And and they're going to go out and put it all on the field.
Yeah, and they're going to learn, and importantly, they're going to hold every member of the team accountable to a standard.
Yeah.
So if you don't have standards and you let everyone just kind of make mistakes all the time, you're setting a pretty low benchmark for the potential, not just of your organization, but of yourself.
So have you seen where leaders get so overwhelmed with just the chaos that's happening, so many things that are out of their control? I mean, I like how you said, look, focus on what you have control over, what you have accountability for. But do you see where leaders are letting all these external environments come in, overwhelm them, and they just start getting burnt out? I mean, how do you help leaders deal with that and reset so that they're focused on the things they can control?
So we within Afterburner, we embed in a lot of organizations and help them with their strategies, right? And then help them execute. So the number one reason is just a lack of clarity. Like that is, we have 26 root causes that we've sort of engineered. In the top 10, 8 of the root causes across organizations from billion-dollar enterprises like Google all the way down to smaller family businesses. 8 of the top 10 are all planning related. Lack of clarity around roles and responsibilities, lack of clarity around the strategy, lack of clarity around what my day-to-day looks like, overly ambitious targets, the lack of an institutionalized planning process, a lack of execution rhythm in the organization. Just the ambiguity. So when you start with an ambiguous plan, then everything you do is ambiguous as well. Your meetings
Sure.
introduce ambiguity. The levels of performance become personal rather than systems based. So with flawless leadership, I talk about mastery of 3 interconnected dimensions of leadership, and I call them the 3 M's:
Okay.
mindset, method, and moments. So we talk about mindset. We talk about that flawless mindset, which is, hey, my intention is to get as close to perfect as I possibly can here. But then I've equally got to understand that I've got a lot of growing to get there. And I need to embrace curiosity to modify my biases, beliefs, and behaviors to get to that destination. So the mindset, rather than leave that to chance and have some sort of ambiguous philosophy, it's underpinned by methodology. And that's what the flawless execution method is, the flex method is, which is plan. Well, that's all future stuff. Brief, that's translate thoughts into actions and understanding. Execution, which is turn the meetings off, just get on with the job. And then debriefing, once I've done my job, let's come back together. And then when we talk about debrief, we throw in another loop, which is called the ORCA method, which I mentioned before, is what I planned, what happened, if not, why not, and what am I going to do first thing in the morning to close the gap. And then when you talk about the leadership moments, it's how do I apply that mindset and that method to the different moments I show up as a leader. And you've got people leadership moments, which are zero technology, full engagement, hearts and minds. Then you've got the impact layer of leadership, impact moment, which is the moment that most businesses fail in. It's the glue between the storytelling and the execution. And it's at the impact layer where we strip away the personalities and almost strip away the humanity, really, and look at execution in a business more like a bunch of robots. That's not saying we are, because we still have that people leadership moment.
Right.
And really that's where, when we talk about impact moments, it's, well, let's define the moments in the future that we have to make an impact. And then the third moment we lead in is leading in the now. It's right now. And this is the overwhelmed leader, where the overwhelmed leader is just reacting to results. They're constantly making knee-jerk decisions, and they're compounding the problems. And the technology is driving them rather than them driving technology. And busy reactive leaders is a symptom of a poor impact level of leadership, where we're destination focused, outcome focused. And when we start to bring execution and technology and humanity together, and we try and lead it as a big mashed mess, well, we do execution poorly and people leadership poorly. We don't break into the different structures of the brain. Being soft and thoughtful and caring and empathetic is nullified by being science and data driven, right?
Right.
So we try and encourage leaders to when they show up with people to ask themselves, am I showing up as a people leader here, or am I in service to an objective?
Hmm.
Because often leaders are experts as well as
Yep.
leaders. So sometimes you just need to be an expert.
Yep.
And before I make this next decision, what is the impact of the decision? I've got to go back up into the plan and ask myself, if I make this decision right now, am I going to derail the plan? Am I the right person to be making this decision? Have I already delegated this to somebody else? Do I need to build a better system so people stop reaching out to me and start reaching out to Anna? You're always looking at it from the big picture. And we talk about a people leader when it comes to impact leadership. Your job is awareness and also leading in the now, which is red teaming. When we say red teaming, what we're saying is let your team come up with the plan and how they're going to do it, have them bounce the idea off you, then challenge them a little bit to tighten up the plan. And then every day your meeting should be structured as a debrief. Okay, guys, this is the project meeting for the version 6.8 update of this particular technology. The goal here was to have this change ready for implementation by Friday. Where are we at, Simon? All right. And then, and what you're doing is, instead of directing everyone in the leader and asking for information, you're encouraging the cognitive engine of all of your people, because they know you're going to be asked at every meeting, what are you trying to achieve? How's it going? Why is it not there yet? And what are you going to do in the next 24 hours? And that's a great place to work. I mean, when people are looking for more meaningful work, what they're looking for is just more control over what they do to arrive where you want to get to. But most of the time, they don't really know where you want to get to.
Hey everyone, Jeff here with a quick note from the team at Evolve HR Solutions. If you've been tuning in to the Leadership Puzzle, you know that we're all about finding the right fit for your team. But here's the thing, beyond just talking about leadership, we actually find those leaders for you. So if you're looking for top-notch talent that aligns to your culture and can truly drive the business forward, we're here for that, because we specialize in executive search that is so much more than filling a role. We focus on finding that perfect piece of your puzzle. The one that intersects your unique culture with the core capabilities of top talent. So if you're thinking about your next operations, HR, or commercial hire, we need to chat. So visit us at evolvehrs.com. That's evolvehrs.com, and let's ensure you have the right leaders in place. All right, let's get back to the episode. Yeah, well, there's been plenty of leadership studies that says, part of what a leader needs to do is just provide clarity and a destination that's bigger than themselves, and so setting that destination, and then all of those checkpoints along the way. Sounds like your model helps not only leaders but teams get to that destination at a higher percentage.
Yeah, and I talk about these triggers, right? So between input and output, you've got a finger on the trigger, and it's your choice, right? What to fire out the chamber.
Yeah.
So when you talk about, if you're a leader and you're about to ask someone, what are you doing? Or why did you do that? That's the wrong way to start the conversation.
Yeah.
The conversation is, hey, where are you going with this? And then work backwards. And when we facilitate workshops where we build strategy, 90% of the people in the room below the senior leaders they understand that, hey, our job is to close $1.2 billion in business. But what that actually means to their leader and to them personally is very fluid.
Yeah. Interesting. So, a leader who is stepping into this new kind of model, everything that you've just talked about, where do they start? What's like the first step for a leader to go, okay, I want to get into this flawless leadership model. I want to get into, just working with my mindset, methods, and moments. Where do they even begin?
The first place is to begin is when you're promoted is, I have zero knowledge how to lead in this role. Like, that's the first thing, right? So embark upon a journey, because leadership is a very personal journey. Everyone's different. You can't, you can't lead like General Patton if you're a Nelson Mandela, and you can't lead like a Nelson Mandela if you're a bit more like a Serena Williams. I mean, we all have our little quirks of personality. So the first thing is go on a journey that's authentic to yourself. And if you really want to go into the weeds, the best way to do it is to hit the voice record on ChatGPT tell ChatGPT all about your personality, your life journey to date, what's important to you. And then at the end of it, ask it to create a series of master prompts.
Mm.
Once you've got those master prompts, start a GPT up, which is my leadership journey. In that leadership journey, the first thing you do is you put in your master prompts and ask GPT, what are some thought leaders in leadership that are similar to me? And I need 5 of them, right? And then start reading. Just learn from those people, right? Don't try and be clever. And the first thing to do as a leader is shut your mouth and open your ears. Start that curiosity journey. And why I like flawless leadership is only because I've lived it. I've successfully founded a whole bunch of businesses, and I have a team of fighter pilots that implement it, and it kind of always works. I think we've had one company out of 3,800 where it didn't work, but there was a lot more going on in that company than our methodology.
Sure.
So read the Flawless Leadership book when it comes out next year. But I think it's curiosity and being engaged with your people, because you've probably come from being a peer to being a leader, which is also uncomfortable. From going and having beers and whiskey and a glass of wine with everyone on a Friday to now that's a little bit awkward because you're their boss. And that's where we have that people leadership, impact leadership, right?
Yeah.
So I think as a new leader, you use AI, get it to help you, set up Orca within there and say, my objective this week is to demonstrate empathy. And then the result was, I felt really uncomfortable, and I'm really uncomfortable with some of the DEI stuff in my company. What are some ways I can visit that? And it's going to give you a bunch of questions you can ask. A lot of the time it's just be honest and go, hey, look, I value you as a person, what is the best way that I can communicate with you? And what are you looking for in a leader?
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean you've got 10 people that want 10 different styles, but as a leader, you do have to shape your people leadership based on the individual. That's what it's all about, right? So I think get in the role, admit that I have no idea what I'm doing. And that's why business is very different to the military, because you go to school before you get promoted. You spend 3 months or a year being given the skill set to lead at that level. And that's why I personally believe, leadership development in a company, I reckon if a company invested in leadership development as a practice, like Jack Welch and GE, like Sanofi, some of the where they do have leadership academies and schools, your headcount's going to drop because you're not solving problems with people, you're solving problems with better systems.
Yeah. Certainly those leadership academies have gone the way of budgets. The last 5 years has not been kind to leadership and management development.
But it's also
activities.
Because the leadership models are out of date.
Yeah.
We're using industrial era leadership models to try and run digital businesses, and everyone's saying this isn't relevant. So that's again, why the fighter pilot leadership model works, because it's engineered fundamentally to work in high velocity environments where you're completely overwhelmed, where you're fused with technology, and you're battling for everyone's attention, and you've got to be able to make an impact to get people's attention to get the job done.
Yeah. No, that makes a whole lot of sense. Now, in your first book, The Afterburner Advantage, I know my listeners will love this. You talk about how you worked with the New York Giants to help them win a Super Bowl. So, tell the audience a little bit about, what that was like, and how fun is it to say that you had a hand in the Giants winning?
Yeah, well, the company, and what's great about this program is we worked with 19 NFL teams, of which only 2 won the Super Bowl. But the 2 that won the Super Bowl, which were the Giants and then the Broncos, were the only 2 that invested in more than just a keynote, right? More than just some rah-rah. They went all in on the debrief. And we had different pilots working with those different teams, which also adds to the efficacy of our system in that
credibility. Yeah.
Any fighter pilot with zero experience in the NFL or zero experience, we work with Air Jordan brand from its inception, and today it's bigger than Nike. Where everything, it's not rocket science. I mean, it's just asking 4 questions. It's just being open to some feedback, and more importantly than the feedback is just doing something tomorrow. And what you find in professional sports, and it's not just the NFL, is the coaches take too much responsibility for the course correction. They don't give enough autonomy to the players to actually deconstruct their thoughts and to be fully engaged in the learning process. And it's the same in business. Yeah, it's you hire, you're in HR. I mean, people recruit talent and they put them in an organization and think that person's going to solve everything. It's going to take them 3 months to figure out what the hell the company's doing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Then from there, they're going to try and change everything because they feel like that's what they're paid for. Rather than just walk in and then just from day one, just slowly iterate, just slowly evolve into, and one of the challenges with talent, and in particularly the Royal Australian Air Force, we're very cautious about recruiting talented pilots because historically it's talented pilots that normally crash because they tend to fall back onto their talent rather than the work.
Yeah.
So again, and where high performers can be the best, worst thing you've ever brought into a company is high performers typically marginally dysfunctional as human beings. They're performing for some deep-seated need to link their identity to their performance, which is not the sort of people you want leading companies. And the best CEOs that I've come across, the ones that I'm really amazed with, they're just the grinders.
Yeah.
They're just the process people. They very rarely make a decision without getting everyone's collective input. But because they're visionary and because they understand like what our potential is, they allow everyone in the company to be the agents of change to drive that vision, as opposed to the rock star CEO who comes in and fires at the private equity CEO. And we do quite a bit of work in private equity now, and a lot of private equity firms are really struggling. Like they're struggling to get the performance out of the organic growth of these organizations once they come in and do the carving up, because in a digital world, it's hard to get the attention of the people in order to get their engagement.
Yeah.
More than ever before, you've got to be amazing at storytelling and getting the hearts and minds bought in, so people don't just get lost in the noise of technology.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Boo, I think we could go on for a long time. Just really fascinating stuff, but we are kind of running out of time. So I want to give you a chance to let the listeners know how they can connect with you. Where can they find out more information about you, about Afterburner,
look, I'm just one of many. I have my own website, callmeboo.com, but my preference is for anyone to go to afterburner.com because I'm just the custodian of what every fighter pilot already knows, and of an organization that's been embedding it in business for next year's 30 years. So go to Afterburner and start the journey there, and reach out on I'll give you my LinkedIn link and ask me questions. As much as I hate posting on social media, I've got a team that's very good at forcing me to. So we put a lot of stuff on there. This podcast, we'll chop it up, we'll put it on there. So yeah, afterburner.com is a great place to start the journey.
Fantastic. Well, Boo, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the Leadership Puzzle today. I love how simple and powerful your message is.
Thanks, Jeff. And it's a real honor. Thanks for considering me to come on the show. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, so, to the listeners, check out the Flawless Leadership Model. It's going to be on Amazon next year. It's a great reminder that you don't have to be perfect, but you got to be disciplined, and that I love that ability to debrief every single day and improve. So check out afterburner.com. And if you've enjoyed today's conversation, please follow us at the Leadership Puzzle and share this episode with someone who's ready to lead in a flawless manner. So until next, keep leading, keep learning, and keep putting the pieces together.